space. Substituting for Mr. Spiner tonight.
Subtitles.
Thank you for coming, everyone.
I gotta say, oh, hey! And who are you guys?
We're your friends. Oh, very good. Taking you on a journey for the next 45 minutes through your career.
Okay, you know, let me just say something if I could.
Please do.
Are you sure?
Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you. Who's filming? Everybody. Okay, this morning I got up and I was in my hotel and I opened the shades and I looked out and I thought, there's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. That's the way it's written, meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like they're climbing clear up to the sky. Everybody now. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a wonderful feeling. Everything's going my way. Oh, thank you.
I was wondering how long it would be before you broke that one out. Well, thank you. Brought top of the show.
You know what? It's just so good to be in Kansas, and I had anyway. When the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving wheat can well, all right.
That's the finale.
All right, exactly. Dun 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 dun. Thank you. So that's a part I'll never play, by the way. Curly in Oklahoma.
Maybe in Hebrew school.
Yeah, exactly. I can play 8L'er. Anyway.
So, welcome.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, back in '68, you were the Pied Piper of Astroworld.
I was.
Tell us a little bit about that early brush with acting.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I was working at Astroworld. When the park opened, it's now closed, it's gone now. But when it opened in 1960, probably 70, something like that, they hired me and some friends of mine to be gunfighters. We did gunfight shows, and it was '68. I'll tell you why, because all of a sudden, well, a terrible thing happened was Robert F. Kennedy was killed, and while we were doing the shows last summer. And so the people who owned Astroworld thought they'd make a big show of us retiring the gunfights, and they brought out cameras and news and all of that. We all threw our guns into a wheelbarrow, and it was over, and we were out of work. And we were really disappointed because it was a good gig. So my friend and I, a gentleman by the name of Trey Wilson, fantastic actor. He's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was, you might know him, if you've ever seen the movie Bull Durham, he played the manager of the team in Bull Durham. He was also in Raising Arizona. He was Mr. Arizona. His baby got kidnapped, and he was fantastic. And so he and I were very good friends, and we wrote a medicine show, Dr. Featherflower's medicine show. And the guys who were producing all the live action at the park really liked it. So they built a wagon for us, a medicine wagon, and some of the other guys who were playing gunfighters, who were no longer employed, played different characters in the whole Dr. Featherflower's routine that we did. And then they did a TV special at Astroworld, the Pied Piper of Astroworld, and it was Soupy Sales and Leslie Gore, the singer Leslie Gore, and the Muppets. And my friend Trey was the #1 medicine man. I played a different character, but I alternated with him, and I would play the medicine man some days, and he would play it other days. And he was off at college by then, and so I got to play the medicine man on this TV special, The Pied Piper of Astroworld. And it was because of that one episode of television, that they cast me on Star Trek from playing Dr. Featherflower. Dr. Featherflower's famous elliptical pendurical something or other. Now I can't remember it anymore, but
we need to find this guy who played this role all those years ago and bring him into our family. It's really a wonderful thing that you did.
Is that a Gene Roddenberry impression? That was really bad. Could you do it again for me?
Trying to use that. You know, Brent, when we are on this new starship and you are trying to be, human and wonderful to everybody, you don't need to be as human as you think you're going to be.
Very good. Do you do anyone else? Do you do, Bob Hope or anything? No. Have you been doing that a long time? Did you ever meet Gene? Oh, did you? And did he talk to you like that? Yeah.
So it's wonderful to meet you. So great. Thank you.
That's not really that bad, actually.
I want to know other people who do Gene Roddenberry. There aren't any.
No, I was going to say, you do the best Gene Roddenberry I've heard so far.
I want to ask you, so many actors who've played these iconic roles have written memoirs, and it's really interesting because you've had this incredible career. Character actors, you've been on Broadway, you've been in these brilliant musicals, you played this iconic role in Star Trek, and yet you chose not to write a memoir. Instead, what you did was you wrote fan fiction, which isn't even a Ramona Clef. Maybe a little bit.
A little.
Yeah, and what's sort of the impetus for that for you? And sort of putting this spin, taking some of the truth, a little fantasy, a little Stalker action, and this melange of truth-telling.
I don't know. It just hit me. An agent, a literary agent, went to my manager and said, "Hey, we're interested in Brent Spiner writing his memoir, and apparently memoirs sell very well." And I said, "Well," they asked me, "Would you write a memoir?" And I said, "No, I really don't want to do that. But I have another idea." And I had this idea of this story, which was semi-true. Has anybody read fan fiction here? Come on, you have not. Really?
Yeah.
More people in this audience have read it than... This is all my sales right here. Fantastic. Well, you should get a second copy. Anyway, a lot of it's true, and a lot of it's not true. And that's sort of what I wanted to do. Tell the story and not get sued. And so I literally had to say that none of it is true, so I would not get sued.
What parts of it are true?
I can't tell you, but I will say this. The parts you think are not true are true. And the parts you think are true are not true. And I sprinkled in a little of my actual childhood and memories in it, and but like Patrick really did do A Christmas Carol, and we really did all go see it, and there were things like that were true in it, and and one, well, major kind of what kicks off the whole book was actually true. But, you know, a lot of it's not.
Was it interesting to you to sort of exercise that muscle? Because you have mostly made a career as an actor, but you've also come up with stories for episodes. You've never shown interest in really directing, but you wrote this book, and how was that for you, creatively?
It was great. There was also, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and there was no work. So I thought, I need to do something. And so I said, I'm finally going to... Well, what happened was, when I told these people that I wanted to do this book instead of a memoir, they said, well, the literary agent said, I don't know if we could sell that. And he shopped it around, and finally, somebody bought it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to do this now. So that's what really pushed me to do it, was we got paid, and I had to deliver. And but it was fun. I had a really good time doing it. And I wrote, a friend of mine helped me edit it, and she contributed things as well. She was a wonderful writer named Jeannie Darst, who collaborated with me on it. And but yeah, it was great. It was really fun, and I had something to do every day.
It was so clever to do a book that was a Ramona Clef. Unlike, say, Patrick, who did a memoir where some things were true and some things weren't true.
Right. So. Even though he says they're all true. No, that, you know what, they come close. When you write a memoir, as Patrick did, that's his memory of it. And I think it really is. I don't think he was making up anything. I think that's the way he remembered it. There are moments in it that I remember differently than he did. But
it's Rashomon.
It's Rashomon, really, but it is his memoir. So it has to be his memories of it.
That's that great quote from Robert Evans. There's your truth, my truth, and the actual truth, and no one is lying.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have to say, one of the reasons I didn't want to write a memoir is I read a lot of memoirs and biographies and things like that, and the part that least interests me always are the first two chapters, which are my parents or my grandparents came to this country and blah, 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 and my parents did this. And 2 chapters worth of the parents who I don't really care about. I want to get to your story. But I have to say, having read Patrick's book, I found the first 2 chapters really fascinating because I knew about the other stuff, but I had no idea what he'd gone through to get from literally Dickensian poverty to a knight of the realm. It was quite a journey.
And I have to say, if you already have the book, get the audiobook, because it is really fun.
Fan fiction.
Yes.
Yeah, don't get Patrick's.
No.
Do you do a Gene Roddenberry imitation in the audiobook?
And I should have, because Gene Roddenberry is in the book, and I could have gotten you to do Gene's voice. Yeah. But everybody in the book, those of you who've read it, which is half the audience, everybody did their own voices, all the cast of Next Generation who were in the book.
Yeah, they sounded like they were having a lot of fun. Was it hard to rope them in? I mean, obviously they're going to do you the favor in the game, but they're like, what is this? What are we doing?
You know what? Nobody had a problem with it. Everybody was really great and said, sure, we'll do it. And they showed up in different times and did their parts.
Is there, in not writing a memoir, a sense of like imposter syndrome? I mean, these publishers, we brought you Winston Churchill and FDR and Brent Spiner's new memoir. So,
well, yeah. I mean, have I earned a memoir? Really? I mean, probably not.
Well, it's interesting because you've done all these memorable things on stage and on screen, and then writing about them. Is that something, because you don't really like to look back? You've talked about how you don't go back and sort of watch old television that you've done or anything like that. So it must be weird, like even going back, it's more synthesizing those memories.
Yeah, well, what it was because the book is set in the 3rd season of Next Generation, it was fun for me because I was able to kind of be young again, you know, and I had to think as my 35-year-old self or whatever I was then. Did somebody laugh over there? Yeah, okay, 38 or whatever it was. 42, okay? 90s. Oh. Anyway, it allowed me to think in the mind of who I was, you know. And a lot of people said, you know, some of the reviews were all very decent. The ones I got, I didn't get many reviews. I don't know why. The publicity team at Macmillan just didn't really push it. And so I didn't get, and it was a pandemic, and I couldn't go out and do signings and things like that. And what was I talking about? My book, I think.
But I want to ask you about that era, because you were so successful on stage and doing Sondheim and really having a great deal of success in the New York theater scene. What was the impetus, maybe other than money, or was it the money to go out to Hollywood and try and make it in television and film?
Well, I mean, I would have been happy to make it in television and film in New York, but that was a whole other ballgame, and just there was fewer things then to do. And I'd been doing theater for 11 years in New York at that point, and I thought I really need to start living like an adult, you know, because theater doesn't pay anything, and you basically live like a college student, you know. If you're lucky, you can live alone. I don't think you can do that anymore in New York and be broke. In my day, you could still get a studio apartment in a not so desirable part of town and live by yourself. And but I don't think you can do that anymore.
Because there are no not desirable parts of town in New York anymore.
Well, there's that, and there are no affordable apartments in New York anymore for anybody.
So what, you came out to LA, what was that like? I mean, you were getting cast on episodics, you were bopping around from show to show as a guest star.
Yeah.
What was your experience, and could you have ever imagined, getting, a lead on a TV series that would ultimately became what it became?
Well, I don't think there's any other series that you could be on that would become what it became, what Star Trek is. I mean, Star Trek's the great American epic. It goes on and on and on forever, and hopefully it will. It seems to be doing that, and sci-fi has changed a lot since then too. I mean, there wasn't a lot of. I think when I started, Star Wars, of course, had already happened, but that was a one-time deal. 3 movies and it was it. Star Trek. And sci-fi in general, nobody was doing sci-fi. Nobody took it seriously, really. As opposed to now, when everybody's doing sci-fi. It's really kind of amazing. I was watching one of the talk shows last night, and Jennifer Lopez was on, and she's got a sci-fi movie opening this weekend. And I was like, everybody's doing it. It's incredible. So, I had no expectation of that. I just wanted to get a job. And doing guest shots was fun. And I figured sooner or later I'd have a series, but I didn't know it was going to be one that would last for 40 years for me.
It's interesting because I guess yesterday was the 30th anniversary of All Good Things airing. And you have so many times where a movie star becomes a movie star because they're playing themselves. John Wayne is the same in every movie. Right. But you have this facility with different characters that you've not only made, an icon of Data, but you've been able to go on, whether it's you get a call from Rick Berman, come and do Enterprise, or now on Picard, come and do this role and that role. So that is a real gift, I would think.
Well, it's been a real gift to me that if you're going to be, I don't mean stuck on a series, because it's been a gift to be on part of the Star Trek epic, but then I've gotten to play so many different characters within it. There's no other show I could have done that, where My thing that I always wanted to do was as many different characters as I could possibly do. That was my idea when I decided to be a professional actor. And I got to do that for quite a while, and then I got the series, and I thought, there was a guy, I can't remember his name, but he directed one of the very early episodes of the show, and he said, if this thing goes 7 years, you're going to want to blow your brains out. And I said, why? He said, because you're an actor, you can't express anything in this part. And I thought, I'm thinking it's not going to go that way. And I said, I think it's going to be a part that I can do all kinds of things. And it did wind up being that. And it spun other characters. And so I could, to be in one show, I couldn't have asked for more, because I got to do that thing I always wanted to do, was play a variety of characters.
In Fistful of Davis, you got to call in your after-world training,
Exactly. I was a gunfighter again, and I already knew how to do it.
When you first got cast in the role, did you look at other sort of these performances as automatons, whether it be going back to Metropolis or maybe Mr. Wright at the time, or it was with Malkovich? Was there anything you looked at as an influence? You said, I'm just doing my own thing. I'm not going to be influenced by what was happening in the genre.
Well, in fact, my dream when I was young was to be the Buster Keaton of my time. And as it turned out, I was the Buster Crabbe of my time. And so that was fine, It was... No, I didn't. I think the beauty of the character playing Data, playing an android in 1987, was that I could do anything I wanted to do, because there was no real precedence for it. It wasn't like nobody was writing me and saying, "Oh, you know what? An android wouldn't do that." And nobody knew what an android would do, so I could do anything I wanted to do.
What was the impetus for your performance as Jeff Oaken in Independence Day?
Well, I wasn't Jeff Oaken.
You were.
No, I was Brackish Oaken.
Right.
But it was based. The name Oaken was based on Jeff Oaken. Jeff Oaken was a special effects guy.
Visual effects supervisor.
Yeah, who had done Stargate with Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin, and so they named my character after him and made him Dr. Oaken.
And they made you look exactly like him.
I've never seen Jeff.
He looks exactly like your character.
Because what's weird about that is I'm the one who asked for the long hair.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I said that when they cast me, the very first day they cast me, I said, "Can I have really long hair?" And they picked up the phone and called a wig maker, and it was done. But I've spoken to Jeff Oaken, but not about Independence Day. Yeah.
Were you surprised to get the call for the sequel, knowing that you had died in the previous movie? Spoiler alert!
I have a history of doing that. I die, and you can be almost certain I'll be back. I think that's why I probably won't be playing Data again, because I didn't die again this time, at the end of Picard. But I was sort of surprised and then not really surprised. I was surprised how long they took to do it. And I've been pushing, it was 20 years exactly, summer to summer, that from Independence Day to the second one. And I was really happy to be back. And my part was even better. But not the movie wasn't necessarily, but I've been pushing them. I've been trying to convince. I talked to Dean Devlin about it, and he thought it was a great idea, but there seems to be difficulty in convincing. Disney owns Independence Day now because they bought 20th Century Fox, and but I had this idea for doing like a 10-part series called Area 51, and playing Dr. Oaken for 10 episodes that would sort of bookend the last movie to the next movie. And the TV people thought it was a great idea at Disney, but the film people apparently said, but we have it, we own it. And so they weren't really willing to let go of it or entertain the idea of a series. And
was it mostly your character looking at a screen and saying, "No, nothing yet"? And then
that's probably what I was going to do. Yeah.
I'm almost tempted to call Steve Asbell right now.
Yeah.
Get him on the phone at Fox and
Put him on
have
the
Brent
spot.
Pitt. And who's playing Dr. Oaken? We got Brent right here.
Really, I know I could talk Goldblum into doing an episode or two, and I just think it would be, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? I mean, really, because the second movie, for all of you who saw it, I think more people read fan fiction here than but for all of you who saw it, I had the last line in the movie, which was, "Let's go kick some alien ass," and which was indicating that we were going to go there. And that's what the series would be, is the build up to the third movie where we actually go to where the aliens live. Yeah, I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer.
Well, Steve Asbell, this will be airing on the podcast.
That's right, he'll
He's
hear
a
it.
long-time listener, studio head. So,
Call him while we're recording a wraparound.
And you tell him you can get me for a small fortune.
It's interesting because this is obviously a great idea. During the making of Star Trek, Michael and the team, and because it was 26 episode seasons, we're not very interested, let's be polite, in hearing what the actors had to say. By the time the features come around, you have a lot more power. You help bring John Logan in on Nemesis.
Yeah.
Was that something that you really embraced, that role of and having more creative inputs and power?
Well, you know what, it went through a weird sort of evolution, because when we first were, the first couple of seasons, really was it just the first season? It may have gone even into the second season. We had, every episode, we had a lunch meeting in, with Rick and Gene and sometimes not Gene, but Bob Justman and whoever else, Maurice Hurley, and we would say what we liked about the script or what we wanted to, and I think they got really fed up with listening to us, because I think there was a specific moment where Jonathan Frakes said, "This is the worst hack job I've ever read," and that was the last time we had a lunch meeting. And after that, we also had little things like sometimes I would read things and think, this doesn't feel right, and I would call Rick Berman, who was our producer, who really is an amazing producer. He did like 600-700 episodes of Star Trek, incredible. But I would call him and I'd say, "Rick, I don't think this works." I said, "What if I do this?" And or say this, and he would say the original line, and then he would say my line. And he'd go, "No, just do it like we wrote it." And I go, "All right." And I got the idea finally to start doing that. I would call from Patrick's trailer, and I would call, and I'd get that response, and then I'd hang up, and then Patrick would be there, and he would say, we'd wait 2 or 3 minutes, and then Patrick would call, and he'd say, "Rick, I don't think this moment quite works." And he would say, "Can you think of anything else we could say?" And then Rick would say my thing, and then Patrick, "Oh yes, that's very good."
Was that Patrick's group?
No, that was my run. And we would get that in that way. Okay, so then it got to a point really where the writing was so good. We had Ron Moore and Brandon writing and Mike Piller, and it just got to be really excellent. Renee Echeverria and Joe Minosky, and just really terrific writers. And so we kind of went, well, look, I got this thing in mind. I got tired of calling and being, turned down for my ideas, and so I thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna say anything they write, and I'll figure out a way to do it. And you know what? At the end of the day, that worked pretty well. They never ever called me and said, "We don't like the way you played that. Can you do it again?" shoot it again because it didn't work. They let me play it the way I wanted to, and I let them write it the way they wanted to, and that worked out fine. And then when we got into the features, well, we had more input, but it wasn't easy. It really wasn't. I mean, we really had to struggle for it, and until Nemesis, when I brought John in, and look how that worked out. No, but John Logan is still really one of the writers of film, television, theater. He's got, he wrote the Moulin Rouge stage play that's like all over the world now, and he just finished writing the Michael Jackson story, the film of that, and so many things. John's done amazing work.
He's an Oscar winner, a Tony winner.
Yeah, I mean, he's an A-list writer.
So do you think, I'm sorry, that there's something specific about writing Star Trek?
Yeah, there must be. I don't know what it is, but
When you would read a script...
But he was a fan. John was a huge fan. And I will say this, we wrote a different story together, John and I did, and we presented that to Rick, and he didn't want to do it. He didn't think it worked because it was an alternate universe story, and he just said, "I've never liked alternate universe stories," but so it didn't happen. But
We are going to open it up to audience questions, so you might want to start lining up. Yes, beyond that.
I think you're talking about John being a fan, but Stuart Baird, who was the director, was not.
Correct. And that was a problem. I mean, Stuart Baird, who directed Nemesis, he met with each of us individually before we started shooting. And when I met with him, he said to me, "Listen, I don't want to fix the wheel. I want to, respect this genre and what you guys have done, and I'm going to do Star Trek the best I can." And the first day on the set, he says, "I'm going to show you how Star Trek should be shot." And we went, "Uh-oh."
At last.
Yeah, at last, yeah. And let me say about Stuart, he is one of the greatest editors ever. He edited films that it's the editing that made the films. And he's quite brilliant, really, but he just tried to reinvent Star Trek, and that really wasn't a great idea, I don't think.
I know you have a lot of questions. We're going to try and get through it quickly because we're already running out of time. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, gotta go. Go ahead. Sorry.
My name is Alyssa, and I was just wondering, what was it like to work with Spock?
Spock, well, there were 3 Spocks, two of them were among the worst actors I've ever worked with. They could not take direction. I know that some of you are cat owners, and you just don't say, the writers would write these purposely, write these impossible things for a cat to do, but we did have one eventually. The spot of the features was sort of the Daniel Day-Lewis of cats.
He was making more money to hire a better cat.
That cat actually can also make shoes, which is amazing. Okay. I figured you'd like that one.
Never work with kids and animals.
No.
So, other than Data, which version of you on Star Trek did you like playing there? Soon, Lore, etc.
Well, I always like playing Lore because he's so much like me. I'm allowed to let the real evil of myself come out, and also I enjoyed playing all of the Suns. Some of them were more successful than others. I think the second season of Picard wasn't the greatest thing ever done, but I did have a moment in it where Adam Soong, hits Captain Picard with a car. I thought it was one of the finest moments in my career. It's like, why is he hitting me?
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
Some of my favorite Next Generation episodes were the ones like The School of Betas and Brothers, where you play multiple characters. And I believe at one point in the past, when asked about how it was playing multiple characters in the same episode, you said something like, you enjoyed it because you got to work with the best actors. I was just wondering how difficult it was to actually act and talk to a character who wasn't there yet.
Well, I do that in my own life. So it wasn't that hard, really. But they had different technologies through the years for doing that. You know, data lore was the first time I did it. And that was just regular split screen. I would talk to an empty space, and then I would come back and they'd refilm it, and I'd talk to another empty space. And then magic would happen, and they'd be talking
Did they
together.
ever give you a playback to go against?
The only playback I had was when they did motion control, which is really difficult. Because you have to not just imagine where the person is, but you have to imagine where their eyes are, so that you're actually talking to them and seeing them. But it's just imagination, you know. It's not that hard.
Thank you.
For regular people.
And by 7th season, you're playing like 20 different characters in Masks.
Yeah, Masks. Masks was one of those episodes that, you know, it has better sort of. It's survived better than I thought it would, because it really is some of the most preposterous acting I've ever done in my life. And on the set, while we were doing it, I can remember Marina and Colomini laughing at me. And I mean, literally, I would be doing a scene and they'd be going, I go, come on! And because I'd gotten the script the night before, and I had to figure out how to do 5 characters instantly. There was no time to even read the script, just do it. And at the end of that entire episode, the last scene was Patrick and me, and we were wearing masks, and we were laughing at each other, and the crew was furious because it was 2 o'clock in the morning and we could not get through a scene. We'd laugh at each other because it was ridiculous, but you know.
Okay, so everybody asked me a question about you doing multiple characters. I have two favorite episodes of Next Generation that you did data in, because I feel like they expressed the range. The first one is the most toys, where at the end, Data's had enough, and when the transporter beam goes, he's fired that phaser.
Yeah, I was there.
I don't know. Some people can't remember episode and tie it together.
Yeah.
The other one, I don't remember the episode, but your character Data went and asked Picard. Everybody else is getting a ship because you're doing the
Dance? No.
no, not the
What am I doing?
with the ships, not boycott, but where you're trying to keep the Romulans from
Blockade.
The blockade.
the blockade. Thank you. I knew it was a B word.
Yeah.
And Data has to go ask, basically those Captain Picard said, well, everybody else that's a senior officer has a ship. Do you not trust me? And he puts Data on the ship. And then Data gets a lot of pushback from somebody that should be doing that. How hard was that for you to show a range of Data where he was growing like that? What did you draw on that? Because that was some real leadership at that episode. That's what struck me so much.
You know, I don't remember that episode. In fact, I don't remember any of them. I've only seen about 10 episodes of the show, so maybe 12. But so when people I remember what was the first one you mentioned? Oh, Most Toys. I remember that one because I was working with my friend Saul Rubinek, and that was also a really bizarre episode because Saul wasn't originally playing Kivas Faggio. I can't believe I remember that name.
That's what you remember. Yeah. She's David Rappaport had died.
David Rappaport had been playing the role, and we shot for 2 days, and then it was the weekend, and when we came back on Monday, we found that he had taken his life over the weekend. And the director happened to be a Canadian, and he said, well, we had to start over, of course, and the director said, I think I know somebody who can play this part. And I said, well, I know somebody who can play the part. And it turned out we both had the same idea. He was a friend of Saul's, and so was I. And then he came and did it. So I remember that episode, but I don't remember an episode where there was a blockade. I don't remember.
That's okay. That's why I couldn't remember the word. I was just more struck by you were able to really pull some gumption out of Dave.
Well, you know what? I was just drawing on my own leadership qualities. Yeah. Hey.
Hi, I'm Rocky.
Hi, Rocky.
So, first I want to thank you because I really appreciate your humor. I'm not sure what it says about me, but I do.
It speaks well of you, Rocky.
Thank you, sir. The question I have for you is, data is pretty much, I think, what we would consider the pinnacle of AI. And AI is a big deal right now.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious about what your opinion is about it. Is AI part of our evolution as humanity? Is it something to be feared?
Yes.
David Raw Hands.
I mean, all of those things, it's AI it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. They're not going to be able to stop it. And yes, it's dangerous, but it's also fantastic. I mean, it's gonna change the world. It really is, in so many positive ways. And if we can just control ourselves, it won't destroy civilization the way we know it. But it's capable of doing that, but it's all a reflection of who we are anyway. I mean, the idea that humans are very capable of destroying each other, which is really, really tragic. We've evolved so far in so many ways. Science and technology and medicine and comfort, and we've made it such an easy world to actually live in, and we're still killing each other. And it's like, what? We have not evolved as creatures beyond being barbarians. It's crazy, and I think that whatever AI becomes ultimately is going to be a reflection of us. So. And I say that having been the poster boy for AIs, and I do think they should all look like me. And I should get a royalty for every one of them.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Hello.
Hi.
I would just say first that Mr. Data is the best character in Star Trek of all time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Ironically, we had that thought in common. No, thank you. That's very kind
Anyways,
of you.
my question is, you had an episode where you were in the
Holodeck?
blockade? Yes, sir. Where you programmed to Joe Piscopo to teach you jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, because I found that really hilarious. Have you ever thought about maybe doing stand-up at all?
You know what? I kind of wish I had when I was younger, because I didn't realize, when I was a young guy, I went to New York to be an actor. I studied acting. I thought what you do is you get in the theater, and then you build a body of work, and then you get to do great things. I didn't know that if you were a stand-up comedian, you were then going to be getting leads in movies. I would have definitely done that. It's the most difficult of all the fields, by the way, because you're so vulnerable. You're standing there going, please. If you don't laugh at a stand-up comedian, it means you don't like him. Really, that's the way they take it. they don't like me. If you don't like what I do on Star Trek, well, it could be the script. It could be the, you know, like Nemesis. It wasn't my fault. It was, but you can't get around it as a stand-up. It's really, really. I'll tell you what. I'm going to make. Has anybody seen? Everybody seen Baby Reindeer? Yes. The life of a stand-up. Ooh, dark and scary. Anyway.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope I can get through this because I have horrible stage fright. But hello from my 51-year-old self.
Hi.
But definitely hello from my 17-year-old self sitting on a couch in 1989 in San Diego.
Oh.
So that,
Hi.
Hi.
I actually saw you through the TV.
Yeah.
I could see you sitting there.
Actually, I saw you in Malibu once, and I just couldn't come up to you. But anyways, it was just so wonderful being kind of a weird teenager in San Diego in '89 to really connect with Star Trek and your character. But one of the things that I was thinking about was, as I was driving here, I can't picture any other person than Mr. Spiner doing Data. And, you know, I just was trying to picture what other actor could even have done what I loved so much. And I was thinking when you talked about your audition process, was what else was in your audition process, and was there anybody else who was up for the role?
Yeah. I had auditioned 6 times. And there were other people who were being considered. That previously mentioned Daniel Day-Lewis. No, but there were, you know, I walked into a room and there was a room full of actors the first time who were all reading for Data. And I could tell you a long story about that day, but I won't do it. Yeah. I mean, someday I'll do a panel and I'll just keep going for like 3 or 4 hours. And we'll serve lunch too. So, yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Brent should have been teaching Joe Piscopo how to tell jokes. Anyway, this is the last question because we're out of time. So
I'm so sorry.
Brent will be at his booth and you can come get his autograph. And if you have other questions or if you have crippling stage fright, you can talk to him at his booth. But let's do one last question.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Spiner?
No pressure, but it better be good.
So anyway, how did you decide not to become an actor? What would have been your second career choices?
I think I would have liked to have been maybe like a diplomat. I'm seriously, you know. I think I would like people to fight, and I would like to sort of like help people not do that. You know.
Secretary of State.
If you insist. Maybe even president. Right? No, that's LeVar. LeVar's going to be president. I'll be his secretary.
Since this is the first Galaxy Con in Oklahoma City, they have a tradition of taking a selfie at the front of the stage. So Brent's going to stand here. You guys all stand behind him, and they'll take one giant group selfie. Thank you so much.